Hi guys, and welcome back to the Caribbean Spot to episode 4, part 4C, the match still burning. Now that the smoke is thick, let's talk about what's still hidden behind it. Because even after the controversial public auction, even after the Schmidt bid and the Hale lawsuit, the real fire came later. In 2004, the yacht was sold again, but this time, no auction, no press, no public record, just a private sale to a secret buyer through yacht broker Northrop and Johnson for $40 million. Who was the buyer? Court filings reveal the names Robert and Ali Riza Yildirim, billionaire Turkish brothers with business ties to Venezuela. The yacht was purchased via a shell entity in Malta, YM Thunder One Shipping Limited. And then came the missing millions. Of the 40 million, only 36 million was confirmed in court. Of that, 30 million in payments was heavily redacted. That's not the same man that says 6 days ago he have documents to show. I think he did say that in truth, yeah. He have the documents to present to Parliament to show them the facts. But court filing saying, hey, Mr. Man, nah. 30 million in payments were heavily redacted. No mention of broker commissions, no clear audit trail. But here's the most disturbing part. When investigators try to follow the paper trail, they hit a wall. Yep, investigators. Professionals. They hit the wall. According to court filings, Yulia's legal team requested access to the original sale records. They were told the documents were present but off limits. Nice way to put it. Then they were redirected from office to office, from the finance ministry to the port authority, the old runaround. I dislike Caribbean for that. And ultimately informed that the records had mysteriously gone missing. So we didn't make this up. Somebody there said this. This is in the court filings. I'm not making up anything. I have no reason to lie. Hell is not my home. In one instance, a government official speculated that the documents were now possibly under the control of the Minister of Finance, a portfolio held by none other than the Prime Minister himself, Mr. Gaston Browne, also known as Mr. Wasteful Finance himself. So, the records of a sale that has sparked global attention are now untraceable, unverified, and potentially locked away by the very official who authorized the transaction. No balance. We need to do something about that in the Caribbean. Let's continue. According to court filings, Browne's team was later accused of contacting opposition MPs offering portions of the sale proceeds, oh my goodness, in exchange for silence. Really? Where's the transparency? No. This was power consolidation, funded by the fire sale of a vessel they never legally owned. Well, hold up. I think the man in part A said everybody know Antigua owned this vessel. That's what the man said. What's his name? Mr. Sanders? Let's continue. So when we say this wasn't just a sale, we mean it. It was an orchestrated political transaction allegedly built on amended laws, secret commissions, redacted records, and the two Caribbean courts that failed miserably. A courts that let it all proceed unchecked. And now, as this evidence hits the public square, the administration is scrambling to clean up the smoke. When you trace the Alfa Nero scandal, from court filings to public lies, one truth becomes clear. This wasn't negligence, this was coordination. A well-oiled machine of silence, spin, and strategic deceit. And one of the most chilling moments in the entire saga came on May 10th, 2023, in the heart of an ongoing legal dispute when Sir Ronald Sanders, Antigua's ambassador to the US, went on a national television and boldly declared the Alfa Nero was fully owned by the Port Authority of Antigua and Barbuda. He stated, and I quote, "Let me make it clear, there's no doubt in anybody's mind right now that this ship is owned by the Port Authority of Antigua and Barbuda. That is clear in the United States, clear in Antigua, and clear everywhere else."
There's no doubt in anybody's mind right now that this ship is owned by the Port Authority of Antigua and Barbuda. That is clear. Clear in the United States, clear in Antigua, clear everywhere else.
Elder, it doesn't matter if everyone believes the Alfa Nero belongs to Antigua. Belief doesn't equal truth. That's called delusion. I could walk around claiming I'm a millionaire, but saying it doesn't make it so. The question isn't what people believe, it's what the facts say. Even in the Bible, there was a man named Simon the sorcerer. He bewitched the people, and they believed that this man, a sorcerer, was a mighty man of God just because of the image he projected, and he convinced them. But belief alone didn't make it true. So let's stop asking who believed the yacht belonged to Antigua and start asking what the paper trail proves. Because when belief meets documented evidence, only one of them holds up in court. Well, if you go to Antigua court or the Eastern Caribbean, court, you mightn't make it there because I don't know what's going on inside there. But I digress. Let's continue. Let's dismantle this elder's statement. Let's make one thing clear. That was a lie. That statement about everybody in their minds, it belongs to Antigua. Well, yes, they could belong to Antigua, but hear the lie. The legal dispute was already filed. Ownership claim had been submitted. Court dates were pending. Emails, notices, formal letters were flooding in. And yet, Sir Ronald Sanders went on TV and told the world it's ours. He didn't just lie. He closed the door on justice while the court was still holding the hearing. And you don't make a claim that bold in the middle of a global investigation without backing from the top. Just ask yourself, who benefits from calling it a done deal? Who needed that yacht sold fast? Who needed the US delisting to happen without ownership questions? Was it really just Sir Ronald acting alone? Let's pull the curtain all the way back. So the timeline they can't escape. We have date March 1st, 2023, and again, Yulia's legal team begins submitting ownership notices. The reality, the Port Authority, the AG, and government officials are notified. April 4th to the 20th, 2023, we have formal emails and hand-delivered legal letters sent. The reality, ignored by both Darwin Telemac and the AG, the Attorney General. May 10, 2023, we have Sir Reginald Sanders declares on ABS TV, there is no doubt it's ours. What's the reality? Court filings still active, no ruling issued, but it's theirs. With all surety, with all boldness. May 22nd, 2023, Yulia files formal legal claim. ANU HCV 2023/0185. The reality, the lawsuit officially launched to stop the sale. June 20, 2023, Eric Schmidt walks away from the sale. Questions raised about transparency. That's the reality. July 2023 to January 2024, Hale files lawsuits. Documents vanish, government silent. What's the reality? Records redacted, final buyer concealed. Then we have 2025. US subpoenas issued for Browne, Telemac, and Chips. Federal court seeks missing money trail. So when Sir Ronald said, the diplomatic side of things is virtually over, and then said, there's no doubt in anybody's mind right now that a ship is owned by Port Authority of Antigua and Barbuda, he wasn't speaking facts. He was setting up the story, a story allegedly the Prime Minister would later echo in Parliament, a story Telemac would use to justify the auction, a story Astafan would defend on national TV, all while the legal owners were screaming into a void. This was never about protecting Antigua. This was about protecting a narrative. One where the money moves faster than the truth, and where a super yacht becomes the political payoff of the decade. And how can we forget? The judiciary failed, and the people know it. They saw the evidence, they had the power, and still they issued a judgment that sounded more like a press release than a ruling. What good is a constitution if the very people who swore to uphold it rewrite it in silence? To the judges who let this happen, history is watching. So are the people. Proverbs 29:4 says, by justice a king gives a country stability, but those who are greedy for bribes tear it down. Because when the ambassador, the prime minister, the port manager, the finance ministry, which is also run by the prime minister, and the government's attorney all speak in unison, while the court filings say something else, that's not coincidence. That's collusion. And if this is how they treat a 120 million asset on the global watch, what happens when it's your land, your pension, your rights, your home? This is bigger than one yacht. It's about who the law protects and who it ignores. And now the world sees it. The Caribbean deserves better. The people deserve answers, and the firestorm has just begun. This leads us into our final segment in this series, Episode 4, Part C. the one who lit the match. Let's bring this full circle. Because just 6 days ago, on April the 11th, 2025, Prime Minister Gaston Browne said this on national television. So, if we had to do it again, considering the options that are available, would have done it again, absolutely. ABS TV Antigua, April the 11th, 2025. This is on YouTube, and the video title is Government Defends Handling of the Alfa Nero Seizure Sale. Even now, after all the controversy, after the lawsuits, after the subpoenas, after the millions was spent to maintain something that was never legally theirs, he still says, we'd do it again. They treated the Alfa Nero like a national treasure. And why? Because Sir Ronald Sanders declared on camera that the yacht was already owned by the Port Authority, not possibly, not allegedly. He said it with full confidence, while legal filings was still active. And while Browne stood firm, Port Authority Darwin Telemack said this: if it was abandoned, it could have blocked the harbor. This is a hypothetical. The use of if is not a statement of fact. It's a hedged narrative which legally and strategically does three things. One, avoids legal liability because abandonment is disputed. Using if protects him from making a false declaration. Two, creates emotional justification. A worst case scenario to trigger public sympathy or justify government intervention. And thirdly, contradicts the previous government position without admitting fault. It's a quiet backpedal. If the yacht was truly abandoned, why say if? I mean, now. Why say if now? If ownership was unknown, why were emails, letters, and legal filings being ignored? The owners were reaching out, the government ignored them. That's not abandonment. That's a narrative built on silence. Then came Anthony Estefan, who said, misinformation is the greatest threat to democracy. Excuse me, sir. Pause. Pause. Right now. Pause, Elder. That is not the greatest threat to democracy. It is corrupt people in leadership positions. Dishonest people, not misinformation. Let me ask, was the High Court's acknowledgement of constitutional concerns misinformation? Were the federal subpoenas approved by the U.S. judge misinformation? Were the missing records, ignored notices, and conflicting ownership claims misinformation? No. That's not misinformation. That's misdirection. That's rewriting the narrative not to clear the air, but to cloud the truth. That's what they are doing. Trying to cloud the truth. Well, the truth is the truth. Get on board. Learn to be honest. Because here's what the subpoenas prove. They're not aimed at opposition leaders. They're not targeting random businesses. They're not meant for the people of Antigua. They are for you, your government's inner circle, and the companies connected to the Alfa Nero sale. And then, as if that wasn't enough, in his April 11, 2025 interview, Gaston Browne said that critics were undermining the country's integrity. You guys, you need to just stop and laugh right now. Like, seriously, bro? Like, really? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, seriously? Sir, let's be clear. No one is undermining the country's integrity but you, Mr. Browne. You're the one who introduced the law. You're the one who blocked the yacht. You're the one who ignored legal notices. You're the one who pushed the sale. Hold on, let's go back. You're the one who spent millions of taxpayers' money to maintain your tribe's possession. You're the one who lit that match. So stop playing on people's emotions with these statements. Don't hide behind patriotism to avoid accountability. You're not defending Antigua. You're defleeting from what you've done. You did not care about the country's integrity when you drew the match, did you? You, Mr. Browne, if you care about the country's integrity, start by honoring the truth. So when the Prime Minister says he would do it again, he's not just justifying what's been done. He's telling the world he's ready to strike the match again. That's not courage. That's calculated control. Proverbs 26:11 says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. You didn't just light the match, Mr. Prime Minister. You're still holding it. And now you want to call the smoke leadership? Nope, not here. You said others are trying to burn down the country, but what you've shown the world is that you brought the gas, you struck the match, and now you're promising to do it again. I'm sorry, your words, not sorry. But judgment has a funny way of showing up when the lies get too loud. And this time, it doesn't come from foreign enemies. It comes from your court records, video statements, and your own mouth. Proverbs 29:4 says, by justice a king gives a country stability. Keyword, justice. But those who are greedy for bribes tear it down. And to every leader, every lawyer, every judge who turned away from truth, the firestorm is here. And the God of justice is not mocked. The match still burning. Prime Minister Gaston Browne says he stands on integrity. He says he's not afraid of transparency, that there's a paper trail, and he'll bring it to Parliament. But in a U.S. federal court, his government is doing the opposite. Their legal team is actively fighting to block subpoenas that would trace that very paper trail. Subpoenas targeting the Alfa Nero sale, offshore accounts, and financial transactions connected to the Prime Minister, his family, and top officials. So the question isn't just whether they'll hand over the documents, it's whether they ever intended to in the first place. Because when redacted records, vanished sale documents, and blocked subpoenas all show up in the same investigation, it's not just coincidence, it's concealment. So we have to ask, what are they so afraid will come out? Well, join us for episode 5. Subpoenas, blocks, whatever else we pull up, we're going to bring it to you guys. Don't forget, like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's keep this conversation going. I am all about the truth. I'm here as God's servant. I have no horse in the race. My job is just to do what my Father called me to do. Stand for justice. You guys, what are you standing for? See you on the next video. Bye.